Buenas tardes, soy Salvador Villaseñor, responsable de relación con inversionistas en Walmex. Gracias por acompañarnos hoy para revisar los resultados del segundo trimestre de 2024. Hoy, conmigo está Ignacio Caride, presidente ejecutivo y director general de Walmart de México y Centroamérica, Raúl Quintana, a cargo de operaciones omnicanal, y Pablo García, vicepresidente senior de Administración y Finanzas. La fecha de esta transmisión es 24 de julio de 2024. La transmisión de hoy está siendo grabada y permanecerá disponible en www.walmex.mx. Antes de comenzar, quiero recordarles que esta transmisión es propiedad de Walmart de México S.A.B. de C.B. y está dirigida a los accionistas de la compañía y a la comunidad inversionista. Las referencias que se hagan en esta transmisión respecto al futuro desempeño de Walmart de México S.A.B. de C.B. deberán considerarse como meras estimaciones que de buena fe ha realizado la compañía. Dichas referencias son simplemente el reflejo de las expectativas de la administración de la compañía y se basan en los datos que actualmente se encuentran disponibles. Los resultados reales dependerán en su totalidad de los acontecimientos, riesgos e incertidumbres que se pudieran presentar en el futuro y que llegaran a afectar el desempeño real de la compañía. Ahora los dejo con nuestro presidente ejecutivo y director general, Ignacio Caride.
Gracias, Salvador, y buenas tardes a todos. Gracias por acompañarnos para conocer nuestros resultados del segundo trimestre del 2024 y el progreso de nuestra estrategia de largo plazo. Esta será la primera vez que comparta con todos ustedes nuestros resultados trimestrales. Y como siempre lo hacemos, quiero comenzar agradeciendo a todos nuestros asociados por su esfuerzo y compromiso, ya que estos resultados no serían posibles sin su contribución. Han pasado más de 2 meses desde mi nombramiento como CEO y, aunque nuestra estrategia de negocios permanece, hemos identificado 3 factores claves que nos harán avanzar aún más rápido en la consecución de nuestros objetivos: automatización, digitalización y simplificación. Primero, la automatización, que no es solo una tendencia, sino una necesidad. Cuando decimos que somos una empresa impulsada por la tecnología, reiteramos nuestro compromiso de incorporar más y mejores herramientas para fortalecer nuestro liderazgo. La automatización nos permite optimizar procesos, reducir errores y liberar tiempo para enfocarnos en lo más importante: nuestros clientes, socios, proveedores y asociados. En segundo lugar, la digitalización, que es nuestra gran aliada. Al digitalizar nuestros procesos, nos conectamos más eficazmente con nuestros clientes, entendiendo mejor sus necesidades y expectativas. Esto nos permite ofrecer experiencias personalizadas y relevantes, fortaleciendo nuestra relación con cada uno de ellos. Y finalmente, la simplificación. La complejidad es enemiga de la eficiencia. Simplificar nuestros procesos internos y externos no solo hace que nuestras operaciones sean más fluidas, sino que también mejora la experiencia de nuestros clientes, socios, proveedores y asociados. Nuestra cultura, que tenemos profundamente arraigada, es crucial para continuar atendiendo a nuestros clientes de la manera que quieren ser atendidos. Continuamos ofreciendo precios bajos y que puedan pagar, ya que sabemos que los clientes priorizan el valor, el acceso y la asequibilidad. En el segundo trimestre logramos un crecimiento de los ingresos totales de 6.4%, impactado por el cambio de Semana Santa con un crecimiento de la utilidad operativa del 6.8% y un crecimiento del EBITDA del 7.7%. Este trimestre superamos el crecimiento de venta en mismas tiendas de autoservicio de Delantad en 200 puntos base, manteniendo nuestro momentum. Las continuas inversiones en diferencial de precio y los esfuerzos más recientes en percepción de precios, que incrementó 120 puntos base en el trimestre, junto con una propuesta de valor al cliente que está en constante evolución, son los factores detrás de estos resultados frente a la competencia. Daré más detalles sobre nuestros resultados de ventas en un minuto. Durante este segundo trimestre del año, nuestro GMV de e-commerce creció 19%, impulsado por On Demand y Marketplace, lo que nos permite seguir liderando en omnicanal. En general, seguimos progresando en todas nuestras verticales, lo que nos permite continuar fortaleciendo nuestro ecosistema. Este trimestre lanzamos 2 nuevas iniciativas anunciadas en Walmex Day, relacionadas con el conocimiento de nuestros clientes. Nuestro programa de conexión digital y Walmart Luminate. Raúl lo explicará más adelante a mayor detalle, pero permítanme mencionar que el primero es clave para seguir incrementando la lealtad y la adherencia, mejorando nuestro conocimiento del comportamiento del cliente y creando una conexión más fuerte con ellos al ofrecer experiencias hechas a la medida. Esfuerzos de marketing personalizados y ayudarles a tener un mejor proceso de toma de decisiones. La segunda, Walmart Luminate funciona como una herramienta colaborativa para nuestros proveedores, que nos ayudará a tomar todo ese conocimiento de los clientes, ponerlo a disposición de nuestros proveedores y permitirles tomar mejores decisiones en sus estrategias publicitarias. Como dijimos en nuestro Walmex Day, cuando los proveedores y compradores tienen acceso a la misma data omnicanal robusta, grandes cosas suceden. Ahora revisemos nuestros resultados durante el segundo trimestre del 2024. Por favor, consideren que, cuando hablamos de resultados en Centroamérica, nos referimos a cifras sin efecto de tipo de cambio. Durante el trimestre, los ingresos consolidados crecieron 6.4%. México y Centroamérica reportaron crecimientos del 7.1% y 3.2% respectivamente. Los resultados del segundo trimestre deben verse en el contexto del primer trimestre, debido al efecto calendario y el adelanto de los subsidios gubernamentales en México. En general, en el primer semestre reportamos muy sólidos resultados consolidados con un crecimiento del 8.1%, con México reportando 9.1% y CAM 5.9%, y con la rentabilidad creciendo más rápido que las ventas. Paulo profundizará en los resultados financieros más adelante en su presentación. Ahora veamos nuestros resultados de ventas en México. Durante el trimestre, las ventas mismas tiendas crecieron 5.5%, de las cuales aproximadamente 3.7% provino de incremento en ticket y 1.8% de tráfico. Nuestra operación multiformato nos permite atender a clientes de diferentes demografías y ocasiones de compra. Por primera vez, desde la conversión del formato, tuvimos en Walmart Express como el formato líder de crecimiento en ventas mismas tiendas. Los esfuerzos e inversiones que hemos compartido con ustedes del año pasado en cuanto a calidad en perecederos, look and feel y catálogo están dando resultados. Continuamos viendo crecimientos saludables en todos nuestros formatos y nos alegra ver que todos superan ventas mismas tiendas de autoservicio de ANTAD. En términos de regiones, tuvimos crecimientos en todas ellas, con el norte reportando un crecimiento ligeramente menor, aunque también sólido, en comparación con las otras 3 regiones. En cuanto a las divisiones de mercancías, el crecimiento fue impulsado por mercancías generales y abarrotes y consumibles, el primero siendo favorecido por Hot Sale. Al igual que en trimestres recientes, todas nuestras divisiones de mercancías mostraron un crecimiento positivo año contra año. Raúl profundizará sobre los principales resultados operativos más adelante en su presentación. Ahora veamos nuestro desempeño contra el mercado. Como mencioné anteriormente, este trimestre crecimos por delante del mercado de autoservicios y clubes medido por ANTAD en 200 puntos base, manteniendo el momentum. Estamos muy contentos de ver una fuerte tendencia positiva, ya que nuestros clientes continúan apreciando nuestra propuesta de valor y nos recompensan con su lealtad. Los esfuerzos en percepción de precio, como comunicación a través de medios, fortalecimiento de nuestras marcas y el enfoque en artículos clave, junto con nuestro diferencial de precio y otros factores, son variables clave para asegurar que nuestros clientes reconozcan los esfuerzos e inversiones previamente realizados para ampliar el diferencial de precio. Continuaremos escuchando a nuestros clientes para llegar a nuevas y mejores formas de atenderlos, ya que aún hay cosas que podemos mejorar para seguir creciendo más rápido que nuestros competidores. Ahora le pasaré la palabra a Raúl para que le comente algunos aspectos operativos destacados y después regresaré para comentar sobre Centroamérica, apertura de tiendas y temas de ASG.
Gracias, Ignacio y hola a todos y a todas. Estoy contento de compartir con ustedes nuestros aspectos operativos más destacados por primera vez. Permítanme repasar algunos de ellos. Continuamos enfocados en nuestro negocio principal para ganar en descuento y ofrecer valor a los clientes que nos visitan todos los días a través de nuestros diferentes canales para ayudarles a ahorrar dinero y vivir mejor. La percepción de precio sigue siendo una prioridad para nosotros. Este trimestre, a través de todas las palancas que Ignacio compartió antes, pudimos incrementarla en 120 puntos base con crecimiento en la mayoría de nuestros formatos. Nos mantenemos enfocados en la piedra angular de nuestro negocio, nuestras tiendas y clubes. Estas siempre han sido nuestra principal prioridad y seguiremos poniendo nuestra energía y recursos en ellas para asegurar que continuemos creando valor y ofreciendo productos a un precio que nuestros clientes pueden pagar y mantener su confianza y lealtad. Durante este segundo trimestre, nuestro crecimiento en ventas mismas tiendas fue liderado por Walmart Express. Hemos estado comunicando en trimestres anteriores nuestros esfuerzos en términos de look and feel, catálogo y perecederos, a través de nuestra estrategia de clusters en algunas de nuestras tiendas de ambos formatos, Walmart Supercenter y Express. Voy a darles 2 ejemplos de esto. Hemos estado transformando nuestras panaderías en nuestros clusters premium en Walmart Express y nuestros supercenters para mejorar la calidad y frescura y sabor, ya que sabemos que es algo que nuestros clientes buscan. Esto es algo que aún está implementando, pero ya estamos viendo resultados prometedores. El segundo ejemplo son nuestras diferentes ferias de países que sabemos que el cliente objetivo de Walmart Express valora. Este trimestre organizamos la Feria de Francia durante 2 meses, con productos originales de ese país como quesos, vinos, champaña, entre otros, con resultados alentadores y buena aceptación. Otros eventos estacionales durante el trimestre fueron el Día de las Madres, Plan Verano y Ola de Calor, todos ellos con resultados de ventas relevantes. En bodega, por ejemplo, Ola de Calor tuvo un crecimiento de más de 20% en comparación con el año pasado, con las categorías de agua e isotónicos incrementando en más del 50%. Nuestras marcas continúa siendo un elemento clave de nuestra estrategia. Este trimestre, la penetración incrementó cerca de 40 puntos base en comparación con el mismo trimestre del año pasado, impulsado principalmente por las categorías de perecederos y hogar. El porcentaje de nuestros clientes que compran al menos un artículo de nuestras marcas, que es cercano a la mitad, también incrementó más de 20 puntos base en comparación con el año pasado en autoservicios. Este trimestre celebramos nuestro evento de Hot Sale. Tuvimos cerca de 63 millones de clientes durante el evento con un incremento en el NPS omnicanal de más de 240 puntos base, lo que refleja nuestros esfuerzos para servir mejor a nuestros clientes y socios. Sam's Club fue nuestro formato con mejor desempeño durante Hot Sale, con un crecimiento de doble dígito en ventas totales, reflejando la confianza y lealtad de nuestros socios y el valor y los beneficios de su membresía. Ahora veamos el desempeño de e-commerce. Nuestra prioridad estratégica es continuar siendo líderes en omnicanal, asegurándonos de tener el mejor servicio, precios y productos para nuestros clientes, sin importar cómo quieran comprar con nosotros. Durante el segundo trimestre, el GMV de e-commerce creció 19%, representando 7.8% del GMV total en México. Como en trimestres anteriores, On Demand y Marketplace fueron los principales impulsores de crecimiento. En nuestro negocio de brick and mortar, Walmart Express está mostrando impulso de crecimiento en las ventas en On Demand, al lograr un crecimiento trimestral de doble dígito, después de un difícil periodo de conversión de marca. Además, en mayo, con el objetivo de seguir mejorando los niveles de servicio para nuestros socios de Sam's, lanzamos una prueba piloto en 3 clubes de Pronto, nuestro servicio de entrega en 90 minutos, que de acuerdo con los resultados iniciales, planeamos ampliar durante el tercer trimestre. La evolución de Walmart Pass ha sido positiva. Este trimestre, los miembros incrementaron 33% en comparación con el mismo trimestre del año pasado. Análisis recientes mostraron que los miembros de Walmart Pass compran un 25% más después de adquirir la membresía, impulsado por una mayor frecuencia y un mayor número de artículos comprados. En cuanto a catálogo extendido, nuestro Marketplace creció 26% en comparación con el segundo trimestre del 2023, con el número de SKUs y sellers de Marketplace incrementando alrededor del 60%. Al igual que en años anteriores, Hot Sale fue un evento completamente omnicanal, donde nuestros clientes pudieron acceder a nuestras grandes ofertas a través de todos nuestros canales. La penetración de e-commerce durante el evento fue de alrededor del 14%, con un incremento del 52% en las visitas de e-commerce en comparación con el evento del año pasado. Continuamos trabajando en mejorar nuestras capacidades de e-commerce. Hemos compartido con ustedes la implementación de nuestra plataforma Glass en nuestros diferentes formatos. Ya se implementó en nuestros dos formatos de Walmart Supercenter y Express y acabamos de terminar la implementación en bodega. Glass es nuestra plataforma de front-end que aprovecha la tecnología de Walmart en Estados Unidos y nos permite establecer las bases y unificar la tecnología detrás de todos nuestros formatos, lo que nos ayudará a crecer significativamente nuestro negocio de e-commerce. Además, también estamos afinando el backend de nuestras plataformas con la implementación de Walmart Commerce Platform, que nos permitirá escalar significativamente el tamaño de nuestro marketplace con sellers locales y cross-border y mejorar la experiencia del usuario a través de nuestras capacidades de búsqueda, entre otros. Estoy muy emocionado con el futuro que nos depara en e-commerce, dado el esfuerzo que estamos poniendo en ello. Pasamos ahora a nuestras verticales y a nuestra prioridad estratégica de ser el ecosistema preferido. Byte alcanzó 13.7 millones de usuarios activos, más del doble de los 6.3 millones de usuarios activos del mismo trimestre del año pasado y agregó 400,000 usuarios en el trimestre. Este trimestre lanzamos diferentes nuevos precios de recarga, entre 60, 120 y 230 pesos, lo que nos ayudó a incrementar los ingresos. En soluciones financieras, este trimestre otorgamos más de 150,000 créditos, 30% más que el mismo trimestre del año pasado. Walmart Connect tuvo un crecimiento de ingresos de 23% en comparación con el año pasado, implementando 24% más de campañas en comparación con el segundo trimestre del 2023. En nuestro negocio de salud, este trimestre vendimos cerca de 600,000 membresías de salud a medida que los clientes entienden mejor la oferta de valor. Finalmente, como mencionó Ignacio anteriormente, este trimestre lanzamos Walmart Luminate y nuestro programa de conexión digital. Nuestro programa de conexión digital, llamado Walmart Beneficios y Bodega Aurrerá Beneficios, proporciona a nuestros clientes una experiencia de compra personalizada, facilita la interacción con nuestras verticales y ofrece ahorros significativos con aliados no comerciales, además de Byte. Crea una experiencia única para los consumidores de acuerdo con sus hábitos de compra. Para inscribirte, el cliente solo necesita registrar un número de teléfono celular y proporcionar el mismo número cada vez que realiza una compra física o digital. Para nosotros, este programa será crucial para conocer aún mejor a nuestros clientes y comprender mejor el impacto que cada vertical tiene en todo el ecosistema. Por otro lado, Luminate busca entender mejor las expectativas de los clientes, ayudándonos a nosotros y a nuestros proveedores a crear estrategias comerciales más efectivas en conjunto. Esta herramienta proporcionará análisis de datos sobre penetración de categoría, frecuencia de compra, misión de compra, toma de decisiones, promociones cruzadas, entre otras cosas, a través de datos históricos de los últimos 2 años. Solo registrará tendencias de compra y no datos personales. Luminate fue lanzado previamente en Walmart en Estados Unidos en 2021, donde muchos de los mayores proveedores de Walmart en ese país están viendo beneficios al usar las herramientas de inteligencia de negocios de Luminate. Aquí estará inicialmente disponible solo en México y proporcionaremos acceso a todos los proveedores independientemente de su tamaño a través de una suscripción. Estamos muy contentos con las perspectivas de estas dos nuevas iniciativas, que nos ayudarán a entender mejor a nuestros clientes y poder ofrecerles soluciones mejoradas de acuerdo a sus necesidades, mientras les ayudamos a ahorrar dinero y vivir mejor. Ahora los dejaré nuevamente con Ignacio para que pueda comentar sobre Centroamérica, aperturas de tiendas y temas de ASG, antes de pasar a los resultados financieros. Fue un placer compartir con ustedes nuestros logros operativos trimestrales por primera vez y estaré encantado de responder cualquier pregunta en nuestra sesión de preguntas y respuestas en vivo mañana por la mañana.
Gracias, Raúl. Veamos ahora Centroamérica. De nuevo, por favor, consideren que nos referimos a cifras sin efecto de tipo de cambio. En el segundo trimestre, Centroamérica reportó un crecimiento de ventas en mismas tiendas de 2.6% en comparación con el mismo periodo del 2023, impulsado principalmente por crecimiento en volumen. Vimos un menor crecimiento en Costa Rica, parcialmente impactado por la deflación. Estamos implementando acciones para tener mayor crecimiento de volumen en la segunda mitad del año. Durante el segundo trimestre, abrimos nuestra tienda número 900, inaugurando 6 nuevas tiendas en el trimestre. Nuestro diferencial de precio también continúa mejorando, reforzando nuestra propuesta de valor y compromiso para ayudar a nuestros clientes a ahorrar dinero y vivir mejor. Además, ampliamos las operaciones de e-commerce a 20 tiendas adicionales e incrementamos en 50 puntos base nuestra penetración de venta de e-commerce. Durante el trimestre, e-commerce tuvo un crecimiento de 80% en comparación con el mismo periodo del año pasado, impulsado por un crecimiento en volumen de pedidos de triple dígito. Continuamos desarrollando nuestro ecosistema en la región. Durante el Q2, Walmart Connect duplicó sus ingresos y el número de anunciantes en comparación con el año pasado. Estas acciones contribuyeron a un crecimiento total de ventas del 3.2%, excluyendo los efectos de tipo de cambio. Paulo hablará más tarde sobre los detalles financieros de CAM. Por último, conforme hemos revisado nuestras operaciones en Centroamérica, consideramos que estos negocios son financieramente sólidos, están bien posicionados para servir a sus clientes y comunidades y siguen teniendo un potencial significativo de crecimiento que se logrará mejor continuando bajo propiedades de Walmex. Ahora hablemos sobre el crecimiento de nuevas tiendas. Durante el trimestre abrimos 25 nuevas tiendas. 19 en México, 5 en Costa Rica y 1 en Guatemala. La contribución de las nuevas tiendas al crecimiento de las ventas consolidadas fue del 1.7% para el trimestre, superando la guía dada en Walmex Day que estaba entre 1.4 y 1.6%. La mayoría de las aperturas fueron de los formatos pequeños de bodega y un nuevo supercenter en Jalisco con la nueva panadería premium que Raúl mencionó anteriormente. Aceleraremos las aperturas en los próximos trimestres, alineados con el objetivo que compartimos en nuestro Walmex Day de abrir más de 1.000 tiendas en los próximos 5 años. Para finalizar, seguimos profundamente comprometidos con nuestros principios ASG, haciendo esfuerzos continuos para asegurar que nuestras operaciones e iniciativas se alineen con estos valores. Me gustaría compartir algunos de nuestros puntos trimestrales más destacados en estas áreas. Siguiendo nuestro objetivo de apoyar los negocios locales, recientemente celebramos la segunda edición del Growth Summit México. Esta iniciativa ejemplifica nuestro compromiso de fomentar un ambiente inclusivo que ofrece oportunidades a empresas mexicanas de todos los tamaños. Estamos orgullosos de haber expandido nuestra red de proveedores con la participación de 350 empresas este año. En cuanto a sustentabilidad, nuestros esfuerzos en toda nuestra organización son reconocidos, como lo demuestra nuestra posición líder en el ranking del mundo ejecutivo de las 50 empresas más sustentables de México. También seguimos comprometidos en apoyar a nuestras comunidades en momentos de necesidad. En respuesta a la devastación causada por la tormenta tropical Alberto, hemos donado más de 7 toneladas de ayuda en especie a los estados de Nuevo León y Tamaulipas. Estamos emocionados en continuar nuestros esfuerzos de ASG y compartir nuestro progreso con ustedes. Gracias de nuevo por acompañarnos hoy. Me alegra poder compartir estos resultados con ustedes por primera vez y estaré encantado de verlos a todos mañana en nuestra sesión de preguntas y respuestas en vivo. Ahora los dejo con Paulo, quien cubrirá los resultados financieros del trimestre.
Gracias, Ignacio, y buenas tardes a todos. Gracias por acompañarnos hoy. para revisar los resultados del segundo trimestre de 2024. Como es habitual, comenzaré cubriendo los resultados de México y luego cubriré Centroamérica. Entonces veamos ahora los resultados de México. Como mencionó Ignacio, los ingresos totales crecieron 7.1%, impulsados por un crecimiento de 5.5% en ventas mismas tiendas. Como en trimestres anteriores, y en línea con el cambio temporal de nuestro P&L, que hemos mencionado anteriormente, el margen bruto se expandió en 100 puntos base, compensando parcialmente el aumento en gastos generales de 130 puntos base como porcentaje de la venta. Revisaremos el desglose del margen bruto y gastos generales en un momento. De nuevo, podemos mejorar el margen bruto sin que esto afectara nuestra percepción de precio y nuestra competitividad en el mercado. La utilidad operativa creció 6.2% y el margen EBITDA se expandió en 10 puntos base, alcanzando 10.6%, niveles de clase mundial en la industria. Además, como mencionamos anteriormente, no podemos considerar los resultados del segundo trimestre de manera aislada, debido a los efectos de calendario y al desfase de los subsidios gubernamentales. Por lo que, en el primer semestre, reportamos resultados sólidos con crecimiento total de ventas de 9.1% y un EBITDA que creció más rápido que las ventas en 9.9%. Ahora entrando en detalle al margen bruto. Durante el trimestre tuvimos un beneficio de 100 puntos base, impulsado principalmente por la mejora en la margen comercial, la contribución de los nuevos negocios, e-commerce y beneficios en la cadena de suministro. Las mejoras en nuestros márgenes comerciales de tiendas físicas y e-commerce contribuyeron con 40 y 20 puntos base respectivamente, impulsados principalmente por la mejor gestión del catálogo de mercancías generales y los menores costos de última milla, además de los 10 puntos base relacionados con beneficios en la cadena de suministro. Nuestros nuevos negocios, como Walmart Connect, Byte y los servicios financieros, los cuales continúan contribuyendo positivamente a nuestro P&L, proporcionaron una mejora de 20 puntos base en el margen bruto. Todo esto contribuyó a nuestra expansión del margen bruto, alcanzando 24.1%. Ahora, revisemos el detalle de los gastos generales. Aumentamos 55 puntos base en gastos operativos, ya que los costos laborales, remodelaciones y aumentos en el costo energético no fueron suficientemente compensados por las eficiencias operativas. En paralelo, continuamos invirtiendo en nuestras prioridades estratégicas de crecimiento, principalmente en nuevas tiendas, nuevos negocios, tecnología y e-commerce, así que como mejorando nuestra propuesta de valor para nuestros asociados. Todas las inversiones en crecimiento mencionadas anteriormente impactaron los gastos en 75 puntos base. Ahora revisemos los resultados de Centroamérica. Por favor, consideren que esta diapositiva me referiré a cifras sin efectos de tipos de cambio. Los ingresos totales aumentaron 3.2% en comparación con el año pasado, impulsados por un crecimiento de 2.6% en ventas mismas tiendas derivado del volumen. El crecimiento general se vio afectado por el cambio de Semana Santa a marzo y un desempeño bajo de Costa Rica, este último impactado por la deflación. El margen bruto mejoró 10 puntos base en comparación con el año pasado, cerrando en 24.3% de los ingresos. Continuamos reforzando la propuesta de valor a través de inversiones en precios, las cuales fueron completamente compensadas por menor costos en la cadena de suministro y la contribución de Walmart Connect. Los gastos representaron 18.3 de los ingresos, incrementando 60 puntos base en comparación con el segundo trimestre de 2023, principalmente afectado por inversiones de crecimiento como marketing, remodelaciones, aceleración de nuevas verticales y menores ventas. Los resultados antes mencionados y beneficios por otros ingresos resultaron en un crecimiento de la utilidad operativa de 10.6% y un margen de EBITDA de 9.1%, expandiéndose 40 puntos base en comparación con el mismo periodo del año pasado. En general, Centroamérica reportó un sólido primer semestre del año, con un aumento total de ingresos de 5.9%, logrando un crecimiento en el EBITDA de 7.4%, con una margen de 9,5%. A nivel consolidado, los ingresos totales incrementaron 6.4%, con las nuevas tiendas contribuyendo 1.7% al crecimiento total, superando la guía presentada en nuestro Walmex Day. El margen bruto se expandió 80 puntos base, alcanzando 24.1%, y los gastos generales crecieron 14.7%. La utilidad de la operación creció 6.8% año tras año, con una margen de utilidad operativa de 7.9%. Finalmente, el margen EBITDA se expandió 20 puntos base a 10.4%, mientras que la utilidad neta consolidada incrementó 9.3%, resultando en un margen neto de 5.5%. En la primera mitad de 2024, reportamos resultados sólidos con un crecimiento consolidado por delante del mercado, aumentando 8.1%, mientras reportamos un crecimiento de EBITDA de 9.0% con un margen de 10.6%. Y ahora pasando al balance general, el efectivo incrementó 7.7% en comparación con el segundo trimestre de 2023. Veremos las fuentes y usos de efectivo en el siguiente slide. Los inventarios crecieron 13.1% por encima del crecimiento de las ventas debido a la preparación para las campañas estacionales de verano, back to school y las menores ventas en ciertas categorías durante el hot sale. Y finalmente, las cuentas por pagar crecieron por encima de las ventas, reportando un crecimiento de 16.1% año tras año. En los últimos 12 meses, generamos 89.1 mil millones de pesos en efectivo. Devolvimos 33.4 mil millones de pesos a nuestros accionistas en forma de dividendos y operando nuestro programa de recompra de acciones, recompramos un valor cercano a 1,000 millones de pesos. Invertimos 31.5 mil millones de pesos en proyectos de alto retorno para continuar implementando nuestra estrategia y acelerar el crecimiento, mientras que pagamos 17.9 mil millones de pesos en impuestos. Nuestro capital de trabajo para el periodo requirió 1.5 mil millones de pesos debido al incremento en inventarios mencionado anteriormente. En resumen, nuestra posición de efectivo al final del trimestre fue de 48.5 mil millones de pesos. Para concluir, me gustaría enfatizar los 3 mensajes clave del trimestre. Mantuvimos nuestro momentum de crecimiento y ampliamos nuestro diferencial frente al mercado con un crecimiento de 200 puntos base por encima de las ventas mismas tiendas de autoservicio de ANTAD. Esto al mismo tiempo que ofrecimos retornos de clase mundial. 2. Solo desempeño de las nuevas tiendas por encima de la guía compartida. a medida que estamos a punto de acelerar aperturas, nos aseguramos de que las inversiones se realizan con disciplina. Y 3, continuamos fortaleciendo nuestro ecosistema, el cual mejorará nuestro conocimiento del cliente con el lanzamiento del programa de conexión digital y el lanzamiento de Walmart Unite. En resumen, me complace decir que terminamos la primera mitad del año con buen momentum y un sólido conjunto de resultados. Continuaremos invirtiendo detrás de nuestra estrategia, escuchando a nuestros clientes para seguir ganando su preferencia y creando valor para todos nuestros grupos de interés. Como siempre, gracias por su interés en nuestra compañía. Estaremos disponibles para responder las preguntas que puedan tener mañana a las 7:15 de la mañana en nuestra sesión de preguntas y respuestas en vivo. Pueden contactar a nuestro equipo de relación con inversionistas si tienen alguna duda sobre conectarse a la llamada.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Salvador Villaseñor, responsible for investor relations at Walmart. And I want to thank you for joining in our live Q&A session following our second quarter earnings results, published yesterday evening. Today with me is Ignacio Caride, President and CEO of Walmart, Raúl Quintana, our COO, Pablo Garcia, our CFO. We will have 1 hour to go through your questions, having a hard stop at 8:15. And now I will pass over to Ignacio for his initial remarks. Please, Ignacio.
Thank you, Salvador. Welcome and thanks for joining us today. Before starting this Q&A, I'd like to briefly mention that our vision remains the same. It remains relevant for our customers, both in Mexico and Central America. Our goal is to maintain our leadership in Mexico and Central America as a preferred omni-ecosystem to help customers save money and live better, while placing a higher emphasis on strengthening automation, digitalization, and simplification. To deliver on this vision, we have a strategy rooted in 3 key pillars: winning discount, leading omni, and become the ecosystem of choice. And 4 enablers: customer centricity, best talent, technology, and supply chain. All of these empowered by our purpose, culture, and values. Today, we have an exciting opportunity in the horizons to double the business even faster than before. I'm positive about this business and what we can achieve. Thank you again for all of your continued support and interest in our business. Now let's open to questions.
We will now start the Q&A session. If you have a question, please press the question button in the browser. Please make sure you are not in full screen mode to see the button. The first question is from Rodrigo Alcántara from UBS. Please go ahead.
Hi, hi, Ignacio, Paulo, Salvador. Nice to see you again. Guess a very simple one. I mean, just curious on your initial requirements about business simplification. If you can explain to us what do you mean by that, and precisely what are the areas of opportunities for Walmex that you spotted here, Ignacio. And that would be it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rodrigo. Simplification basically is how we feel about our business is we want to do things as simple as possible, as fast as possible, and our feeling is our complexity is the enemy of efficiency. So simplifying all our internal and external processes, it's not only make our operationals smoother, but improve the experience for our customers, for our suppliers and associates. And the way to simplify the way we operate is using more technology, more automation, and eliminating processes that are not needed anymore. The worst thing we can do is try to improve a process that is actually not needed. So we're putting a lot of focus on reviewing the way we do things in order to simplify as much as possible, so we can move faster.
I see. And as we make progress on this front, I mean, can we expect profitability to improve? I mean, on margin side, or would be more like on the approach to commercial side with customers, just to understand the benefits of this?
Yeah, I think it will have an impact in the way we work, and it's a cultural change. So it will allow us to have a slimmer operation, faster and more efficient. Basically, what we're trying to do is operate with less and run our business with less and in a more simple way. So you can expect benefits all across the business.
I see. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your question. Our next question is from Mr. Antonio Hernandez from Actinver. Please go ahead.
Hi, good morning. Congrats on your results and thanks for taking my question. My question is regarding the new businesses. You mentioned that you could post some expansion because of that, and congrats on that. As you are aware of, I'm quite confident in some of these businesses. Could you please give some light into which of these businesses are you more upbeat in the very short term, and maybe what do you expect going forward? Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. So we're very happy with the pace our new businesses are growing. Mainly Byte with 13.7 million customers and again beating the market on new customers. Our Walmart Connect as well, performing very well and contributing to our bottom line in our P&L, and our health membership. And regarding all of that, we also launched our Walmart Beneficios and Bodega Aurrera Beneficios that will help us integrate the whole ecosystem and give us much more information about how customers are interacting with our ecosystem, how each one of our new businesses are generating this interaction with our stores and bringing more traffic to our stores. So we are starting to see a lot of positive results in how these new businesses have impact in our P&L. So we are happy with the strategy, how it's unfolding. Launching Beneficios or in Walmart and Bodega is a key milestone for us, because it will generate a lot of information of a lot of customers that in the past we knew nothing about it because they were paying in cash. And that information will allow us and give us the opportunity to generate better insights. With those insights, we will be able to fuel again our business, and we can contribute with that information to our suppliers so that together we can have a positive impact on how we build our business. I don't know if Paulo want to. Yeah.
No, I think it's enough. And maybe Ines, just to clarify to the people, when you talk about beneficiaries, also we've been talking about digital connections program.
So it's the same thing.
Is the same thing, so that you just don't get confused. But nothing to add what Ignacio said.
Okay, so this was more than a one-off. You are expecting this type of benefit going forward, I guess.
As our ecosystems unfold and with all the launches we're doing and the improvements we're doing, yes, we expect the ecosystem to keep contributing to our business.
Perfect. Thanks a lot and have a nice day. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you for your question.
Thank you very much for your question. Our next question is from Mr. Andrew Rubin from Morgan Stanley. Please go ahead.
Hi, thanks very much for the question. Ignacio, congratulations again. Was hoping you could dig in a bit more on the performance by banner. We see Walmart Express exceeding the company average for the first time in a while. On the other hand, Walmart below average. So is that an issue of geographic location, exposure to, you mentioned some of the government benefits, just trying to disaggregate the relative trends between the banners? Thank you.
Thank you. I will let Raul answer your question.
Sure. Thank you, Andrew. I think from a portfolio standpoint, we remain very focused on our customer value proposition, Andrew, for each format. So let me start with Bodega, and then I'll jump into Walmart Express and Walmart Supercenter. So in Bodega, we continue to focus on our price leadership. and our expansion model so that we can continue to bring the value of Bodega to more customers and more Andreas across Mexico. In the case of Walmart Express and Walmart Supercenter, like we've mentioned in the past, we're in a cluster strategy to better shape our performance for our AB customers. And we're very happy with some of the progress that we're making. We've improved assortment in some of our stores in this cluster, premium stores for Walmart Express and Supercenters. We've improved as well our quality and our fresh products. And we're also revamping our service model so that we can better tailor to our customers what they need. And we've seen some good uptake as well on our fresh. We've also changed some of our look and feel for our customers, and we've seen some good progress and some early signs. And I think that's also translating into the results that you see in Walmart Express. Walmart Supercenters, we continue to focus as well on the breadth of our assortment and bringing the value that the customers need, and as well improving the service that we want our customers to receive in Supercenters. And we feel good about the progress that we're making as well there. And in Sam's Club, the treasure hunt items and the innovation and the value the members see in the membership is also paying off. So I think the focus that we're putting on the customer value proposition on each format and making sure that we have a clear direction is helping us achieve the results.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your question. Our next question is from Mr. Álvaro Garcia from BTG Pactual. Please go ahead.
Hi, thanks. Thanks for the space for questions. My question's on gross margin in Mexico specifically. You mentioned that sort of the expansion was not at the expense of price perception or competitiveness in the market, but your commercial margin did inch 40 basis points higher in that breakdown you gave, and thanks for that breakdown, by the way. So I was wondering if you could maybe talk about pricing into the second half of the year. We're obviously in a much more favorable environment. Your suppliers are clearly not passing price year to date. So, just any commentary on that, competitiveness would be great. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks. Hola, primero que todo, hola Álvaro. Thanks for your question. Indeed. So first, indeed, I'd like you to reassure on that fact that we are increasing our gross margin without jeopardizing our competitiveness. And believe us, that is our mantra, and it's our everyday what we're trying to achieve. Indeed, to the composition of the gross margin improvement, let me first talk about the other elements, and then I will come back to the directly to your question. I think it's important to understand the contribution that the new businesses are already giving to the gross margin progression. So you see this quarter another 20 basis points, as well as with improvements that we've been doing in efficiencies in e-commerce, giving another ones. So that is a significant chunk of a gross margin improvement that you see versus what we have done in the past. In particular, the former is something that our competitors don't have in order to help their profitability in their shape of their P&L, as you can see it. There are, of course, always efficiencies on the supply chain. I will not spend much time there. I will go directly to your question around the 40 basis points and around the commercial margin. First thing to say, and then Raul can elaborate a bit more on that if needed. Actually, we're maintaining our price gap and then improving our price perception. So that's constantly our focus. We've been talking about to you in the past that our need to improve our price perception, because our equation in terms of what we were investing in the market, so to speak, and the perception from our customers was not the right one. In the last 18 months to 2 years, we have put a lot of effort on that by working on levers that we've always talked about. Here, of course, depending on the banner, they might be different, but they will range from, of course, the price gap or the KVIs. They will range with the communication, the penetration, private brands, quality of fresh. They're all important elements for the price perception. In this particular case, in the quarter, as we alluded to, so we actually did just a much better management of the catalog, particularly in the general merchandise. And the better management of catalog means in terms of how we buy, what we buy, but also as well what we liquidate, and therefore that actually we don't have necessarily so much assortment that we actually then need to liquidate. If you look at it from that perspective, you can generate the efficiency, and we are not putting at all our competitiveness at risk. And I think you could expect that going forward to the outlook for the H2. I don't know if you want to add anything, Raul.
No, I think you covered it. I think our baseline and our core business maintains strong, and we feel good about our commercial margins on what we're delivering to the customers. And like Paulo mentioned, I think you're starting to see the benefits of the ecosystem and what that's contributing to the gross margin effect.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your question. Our next question is from Felipe Casimiro from Bradesco. Please go ahead.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for taking my question. I wanted to explore just the launch of the Glass platform. My curiosity is on how much this new front end platform could unlock e-commerce growth, and what categories are you particularly seeing that you can see a stronger growth? And in still on this, do you anticipate any stronger marketing efforts to bring more traffic to your e-commerce platform? That's it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So as we told everyone, we've been telling in the past, we are in the process of changing the whole structure of and the whole technology of our e-commerce platforms and the technology that we use to serve our customers in e-commerce. Mainly migrating into what we call WCP's Walmart Commerce Platform, is our own platform that was built in the US, and we're bringing that into different countries like Canada and Mexico, Central America, and eventually Chile as well. Glass is part of that. Glass is the front end, WCP is the back end, and we're in the process of migrating all of that. What you can expect with all of this is that eventually in the midterm we're gonna be exactly on the same technology platform as the US, so that will allow us to have the same usability and the same site as them, that is much more advanced than the ones that we have now. We already started the process of migrating that. Glass was the first part, that is the front end, that it helps the customer navigate easily our sites. And now we are also in the process of migrating the backend with WCP. Actually, this week we turned on already traffic to 1% to start doing the first test. This will put us into parity with the rest of our competitors regarding e-commerce. There's not secret sauce there. You can use our site in the US. That's exactly what you can expect here in Mexico in terms of technology. It's a big effort from our part. But we believe is a right choice, and that also, once we are connected with this technology, it will allow us to offer to the Mexican and Central American customers most of the assortment that we have available in the US. That's more than 400 million items listed in the marketplace in the US. So we'll unlock the cross-border business for us. So that's what we are in the process of, and starting to see the benefits of that.
And just to complement, we just finished the Glass migration, Ignacio, in Bodega.
Yeah.
And as you know, we already had it in Walmart Express and Walmart Supercenters. Bodega, we just finished in this quarter, and we're starting to see early signs of good progress and good customer adaptation on that.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your question. Our next question is from Mr. Bob Ford from Bank of America. Please go ahead.
You there?
Our next question is from Ms. Renata Cabral from Citi. Please go ahead.
Hi everyone. Thanks so much for taking my question and congrats, Ignacio, on your new position. So my question is related to the financial solutions. During the Walmex Day, the company mentioned a series of initiatives. I wonder if you can give us some color, especially about the development of credit score system and the open platform, and more than that, if you can share with us the ambition in this line in the financial solutions, if you intend to make a further partnership with other banks or to become a bank in the future, just to understand where Walmex want to achieve. Thank you.
Thank you, Renata. Yes, so we are very confident with that. That it will represent our turn point for Cashi and the whole ecosystem once we migrate to open loop. Regarding the launch of open loop, we are targeting now Q4 to release the initial open loop capabilities. Unfortunately, the launch has been postponed due to a combination of unexpected requests from regulators and some delays from the development part. We are very careful on what we're building and what we are launching because it's very sensitive. We are going to be handling other people's money, so we don't want to take any risk here. So we're being very thoughtful on this. Unfortunately, we've been having some delays, but we are targeting now to launch sometime around Q4. Hopefully, we won't have any more delays on this. But we are still very confident that this will change for the positive for our customers in the whole ecosystem.
Maybe just to then build to other question you were talking, what's the credit scoring? We will continue working on that, which is an element that we said in the past, Renata, which is an important as an additional information that will help the people that will work with us, the third parties, normally a bank or actually a fintech company that will want to put their balance sheet to work in order to facilitate credit to our customers. That's an important element. What we've talked about, what Ignacio was talking about Walmart Beneficio, Bodega Beneficio, or the digital connection program that we just started, where we're getting the phone number of the customer. Is this something that in the future periods will give us increased data about the customer, the behavior, what do they shop, how much do they actually spend on a weekly basis, that will be able to strengthen the credit scoring that we are building. This doesn't happen, as you can imagine, Renata, one day to the another. So this is a couple of months investing on this one, but it's something that we are quite positive about that can unlock potential in our ability to provide credit to our Andreas of that buy on us on a daily basis.
Yeah.
That's great. Thanks so much, Paulo and Ignacio.
Welcome. Gracias. Obrigado.
Thank you very much for your question. Our next question is from Mr. Ben Thoreau from Barclays. Please go ahead.
Good morning, and thanks for taking my question and the time for that. Just wanted to follow up a little bit on some of the investments you're doing, and as we look at the general expense line, and obviously the sequential increase here, but also the year-over-year increase was quite meaningful in the quarter. It was more meaningful even as in first quarter. So just wanted to understand from these investment needs, the initiatives you're boosting, how much should we expect going forward as a boost to the general expense, just as a percentage of sales? Because it kind of went up from 1Q into 2Q, and clearly the absolute peso amount that you're spending seems to be significantly more elevated. So just wanted to understand what the run rate of that is for the next couple of quarters.
Hi, Ben. Thanks for your question. So I think when you looked at the expenses, and as we've been talking in the past, I think in particular, the biggest expenses that you're seeing in our P&L and you continue to see this year, less so in the future, will be the labor costs. And the labor costs, because of the increases that you all know that we have had in the last couple of years, we're at 20% average rate of minimum wages. We've always said to you, it's not that we have a lot of people actually paying minimum wages, because that's not the fact. But as you can imagine, across the organization, you're in the operations, you have lots of levels. And as you push minimum wages, you have to push all the levels and the salary bands. And of course, that tends to impact all the population that we have. That said, we had also specifically said on purpose and intentional that we wanted to make an investment in our people, catching up in terms of our position versus the market, and to pay the people the right money, which actually allows us to reduce the turnover and rotation. That actually we used to have levels above 70%, as you know. Now we've been public about that, around 35%. On top, additional to that, we always have investments to run the business, to remodelings, cost of doing business like electricity that is higher than it was in the past, because also even the renewable energy has not been able to have the cost that we have seen in the past, and our investments, and we have to balance all that. As a result of that, we've been explicit talking about the fact that temporary reshaping of the P&L between the gross margin and SG&A. I want to say, I already said it to Oliver, but I wanted to say it again. We do so, but not at the expenses of competitiveness. We do so not at the expenses of our price cap or our price perception. Believe us on that one. And therefore, what we've been building with the ecosystem that we've been building with the verticals contribution, with Connect, with the Byte, also the financial services that to some extent start also contributing to that, and efficiencies that we generate, sometimes the way we buy, sometimes in the supply chain efficiencies, are helping that. Looking forward to your question, I think looking forward and where we see that the minimum wage is going the next couple of years, Claudia Sheinbaum has been the new president, has been open about that. She wants to make the 2.5 times the basic basket, which is roughly up to 10%. I think with that and all the initiatives that we are taking in to drive automation in the business, we believe that therefore then we'll be able to see more leverage in the expenses. I think in the short term, we've been open, short term, so meaning 18 months period or so, we have been open that you might not see always leverage in our expenses, because delivering efficiencies on top to offset this, whilst also investing to grow well ahead of the market. Sometimes it's a not difficult boat to land in the short term. A easy boat to land in the short term.
Yep. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your question. Our next question is from Ms. Irma Scars from Goldman Sachs. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Just two quick questions on the expense front. I think you answered it very clearly. I was just curious that as you roll out the benefits program, is there a cost attached to that initially in the startup phase? I mean, over time, I would imagine that you get benefits out of it as you continue to learn more about the customer, and you even monetize it to some extent through the Luminate program. But I was just curious if you initially sort of see an expense attached to that that we should just work into our numbers. And then I was also curious if you could share anything about, it's obviously very exciting for you to be able to have that, I guess, single customer view or this unique customer view across the different channels. What's your starting point, just in terms of, you mentioned that you don't have identified sales in the offline channel. What's your starting point, and where do you think you could get to over time? In terms of identifying customers. And then, sorry, final question, but hopefully one to the benefit of everyone. Just if you could make any comments about consumption outlook into the back half as we're coming out of the sort of election period, etc., would be super helpful. Thank you so much.
Yeah, so let me just answer very briefly to the first one. Irma, no, it's minor investment that we make into the people that are working on it. So we actually, and any margin, we actually not giving a lot of benefits that the people can cash back is not about. So that one, so minimal investment. Talking about the program itself and the question, do you connect a unique customer? I will pass the baton to Ignacio to talk about that, and I will come back to the question on the outlook.
Yes, and important here to understand what we build with Beneficios is a set of benefits that are given by third parties to our customers. We we identify that our customers are very valuable for other companies that want to attract them. So in order not to break our EDLP philosophy inside our stores, all the benefits are inside our ecosystem or with benefits from other companies like cinema tickets or discounts in coffee shops or with other brands. So it won't add up any cost. It will give usable and requested benefit for our customers that they can use, and the type of benefits we're offering will keep rotating. So if something is not working, we will just change it for something else. And let me say that our first initial numbers on this were very, very good. We're happily surprised with how this is unfolding. So it will help unfold and connect the whole ecosystem and give us much more information that we will use for credit scoring, for relationship with suppliers, for advertising, or to understand better our customers, to give them a better service. And regarding second half, Paulo, you want to take it?
I can talk about the second half. Even the way I like to answer that question, which we get it often, is in two ways. One is around the long term, and the other one is in the short term, right? I think on the long term, we remain very positive about Mexico and its potential. And some of you knows that they've been in contact with me sometimes on the road. That I keep saying since I've been here in Mexico, the thing that surprised me the most is actually Mexico. And I think the potential continues to be out there. Whether you look at from what Mexico has been growing in the past, the prospects of nearshoring, the fact that it's now the biggest exporter to the US, sometimes the relationship between US and China and the space that gives to the Mexico, the investment that have been made in Mexican infrastructure most recently. So I think that you will continue to see the positive. I'm sure when you ask that question, you're looking more to the short term and what is going to happen in H2 and or H1 next year. Yes, what typically, let me say two things here. One, we have seen in the past, typically in the elections, the last two elections, there have been a slowdown in H2 versus H1. But it's important to say the last two elections that were done, actually there was a change of government in the part, which is not the case this time around. So therefore, not sure if we can look really to the past to infer the future. It's true, though, that we actually start seeing some of the economic factors that you all see, be it employment, be it actually the growth, be it actually in this case, reflecting in the traffic in our store and in consumption. We saw a little bit at the end of June and early July, a little bit of a slowdown in traffic. How these will unfold, we'll have to see. It's just too early to say. You know that it has been a bit erratic this H1 because with a lot of incentives pulled to the quarter one and therefore driving a lot of the consumption. In the quarter two, you didn't have the incentives, so people tended to spend most of that in the quarter one. The incentives or the subsidies from the government started now in July. So the first bimester was already given to the population up to the 19th of July. So let's see how that also helps driving consumption amongst our consumers.
Yeah, let me build on this. The second half, it's typically a part of the year where we feel stronger given seasonality, where we are typically stronger than the industry. So we're still positive in our intentions, and we need to wait and see about the macro. But
very helpful.
We feel good about our ability. We feel good about our ability to continue to win share in the back half of the year.
Yeah. Okay. Great. That's great.
Yeah, and a long-term target of doubling the business faster than before. So
Thank you very much for your question. Our next question is from Mr. Froilan Mendez from JP Morgan. Please go ahead.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for taking my question. have two questions, if I may. The first one is on the long term and the end goal that you have for the ad business. I mean, given the magnitude of the margins that this business usually command, what we see in other e-commerce players, do you expect these to be a game changer to your margin outlook at some point? Or what could prevent you to see the same benefits that we see for pure e-commerce players from this type of business? And my second question is on the price gap that increased versus peers. Can you expand a little bit on what were the key levers on that gap increasing? Was it more on private label efforts, a longer summer campaign? If you could dig into what drove that gap wider. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. Well, the first one, briefly on that, indeed, we see a lot of potential. We are completely open about that. Otherwise, we will not have said in our annual Capital Markets Day, where we said it, that we expect that to fourfold in the next 5 years in terms, and we have announced what's the revenue that we did in our Walmart Connect or advertising business by roughly $150 million. I'm rounding it at the end of last year. And I think that will be indeed a big contribution to our P&L. We've always been saying that then we can decide taking that to the P&L or actually take that to actually invest back in the business, or combination of both. And investing back in the business might be continuing investing in pricing, where we still see our areas of opportunity. We're almost pretty much reaching to the ceiling where we feel very comfortable, but there are a couple of categories here and there that we can put a bit more money, and as well as investing behind tech, e-commerce, and the new business, which therefore at the same time are contributing to the whole ecosystem, as you know. So I think that's a lever. It's a competitive advantage that we have, because if you look at our competitors here, and be it in Mexico and Central America, they don't have that size of don't have that type of business, and unless, of course, you're talking about the pure players, as you mentioned in your question. So I think it's something that we can continue unlocking and then use as a competitive advantage to win in the marketplace.
Okay, and regarding price gap, the commercial teams, both in self-service and in Sam's Club, are very focused on delivering the best value to the customers and to the members. And the way we achieve that is we focus on KVI items, and we focus on product mix and categories, and we understand from the customers what they need and what they want. And based on key value items and the mix of the categories, we have a strong customer value proposition to make sure that we're delivering the value that the customers expect from us. And in the case of Bodega, it's not only a reasonable price perception or a price gap, but it's the price that the customer can afford. So we're very focused on the price that the customer can afford and delivering the key value items that the customers need and the value that they're looking for.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your question. Our next question is from Ms. Daniela Brethauer from HSBC. Please go ahead.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for taking my question. I just wanted to follow up on a comment made yesterday on the gross margin, Paulo. In the slide, you showed that there is 40 bips of gross margin improvement, but then it says brick and mortar. But I believe in your speech, you mentioned that it was also brick and mortar and e-commerce that you saw an improvement in the commercial margin. So I just wanted to clarify if that's the case. And also wanted to clarify if the improvement that you mentioned today in the last mile for e-commerce, if that's in supply chain or that's reflected in the others, because you did a bridge for gross margin. I thought that was very interesting, but I'm just a little bit confused on the components there. Thank you.
Yeah, so let me clarify in case I wasn't. So I think the gross margin progression is exactly as you have in the slide. So we have out there 40 basis points from new businesses and e-commerce. Half of that is actually from new businesses, Connect, Byte, and and of the other verticals. The other one is actually efficiencies that we are improving in e-commerce, mostly related with efficiencies that we're doing in the last mile per se. So that is one. The other one, which was also the question of Alvaro, was about the 40 basis points that we have in the commercial margin in what's called mostly the brick. There actually is about much better management of the catalog of general merchandise. And when you say management of the catalog of general merchandise, means the way we buy, the assortment that we buy, and the way we actually sell it, to avoid, of course, the fact that we then have to liquidate some of that category or inventory if we didn't buy in the first place the right one. So I think that's the way you should look at it. And in terms of the explanation.
Yeah, now it's clear. Thank you. And just a follow-up question on, well, we had the Copa America and we're just gonna have the Olympics starting on Friday. So I was wondering if that could provide any sort of tailwind momentum for the Q3 sales performance, or it's just like the underlying macro environment that will dictate the performance?
Yeah, in the case of Copa America, when Mexico plays, no, you do see a surge. Unfortunately,
are we all laughing? We want to make a joke to Ignacio, but
yeah,
okay.
Unfortunately, Argentina probably had a surge in Argentina. We don't have a lot of Argentines living in Mexico, but we do see a surge when the Mexico team plays, and when they develop a good performance, we do see a surge. So as Mexico did not have a good performance, so we're not seeing that uplift that we wish we would have seen. In the case of the Olympics, the Olympics are still kind of scattered from a follow perspective in Mexico. So you will see some sports more followed than others, but it's still lower in an impact base from a lift perspective. But we are promoting with partnerships with the vendors in our stores, the Olympics, so that we make it front and center so that the customers can feel the ambient and also get some of the momentum. So not expecting a lot of the sales lift as we would see more on a soccer tournament that we will see from the Olympics.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for your question. Our next question is from Mr. Ulises Argote from Santander. Please go ahead.
Hi guys, thanks for the space for questions and congrats on the results there. Two quick ones from my side. I think the first one, I wanted to do like a double click on the Central America margins. So if you could expand a little bit on what were the drivers there of expansion, and maybe how sustainable you see this trends going forward. And then the second one on capital allocation, right? So there on the buybacks, you mentioned you've done around $1 billion in cashback already. In buybacks already. You're, let's call it, in kind of this initial steps in bringing this into your capital allocation strategy. So how do you feel about this? How are you thinking of this part kind of going forward, and what have been your perceptions of how that works and how that fits with the overall kind of strategy you guys have? Thank you.
Yeah, just to on those two. Thanks for the question, Ulises. So on the Central America margins, if I just separate it first, if you think just the gross margin, you saw a small progression there. Whilst we continue to invest in the price investments there in order to reinforce our CVP, we're able to generate some efficiency, in particular in the supply chain. We're a fully integrated supply chain in Central America with manufacturing, which actually sometimes allows us to get to some of those efficiencies. I think if you look to our P&L of the margins of Central America, this particular quarter was also helped with some by one-off that we had in our income that is also related with the asset sales. I always say when we looked at the other income in a business like, which includes various topics, including one-offs, includes drops of projects that we may have canceled, includes asset sales, includes contribution and donations. We actually sometimes have headwinds, sometimes we have tailwinds versus the prior year. and that is in both regions, Mexico, Central America. I always say that a business of our size should be able to accommodate that. And what we have to do is to make sure that we reflect what we expect to see on that line, on other income, in a way we establish our forecast, in a way we establish our decision making, in order to be able to balance the long term and the short term. I think on your question on the share buyback, in terms of the way we return capital to our shareholders, most of you and also the investors have been saying, our favorite way of returning capital to shareholders is about investing in capex behind growth because of our high or best-in-class returns on investments. So that's our priority way of returning value to the shareholders, and that followed by the dividend. I think on a share buyback, it's a bit more tactical use of that, and then particularly it's more about the signal that sometimes we tend to pass to the market the way we look at our share price, which we have a point of view where it stands today, but we leave it up to you and then investors to make your own mind around that. I think that's the way you should look at why we return capital to our shareholders.
Great, that's perfect. Thanks so much for the color, guys.
Thank you very much for your question. As a reminder, if you have a question, please press the question button in the browser. Please make sure you are not in full screen mode to see the button. Our next question is from Mr. Alejandro Fuchs from Itaú. Please go ahead.
Hello, Ignacio, Paulo, Raul, Salvador. Thank you for the space for questions. Two very quick ones from my side. The first one on Byte. I think another quarter of strong growth. I wanted to ask you, where would you see Byte, maybe in 1 or 2 year period, and how do you see Byte adding to the overall core business? And the second one is maybe a follow-up from Ulises on Central America. How do you see the second half of the year, semester sales under 3%, even though with a very good margin result? Anything that is worth highlighting for the second half in terms of maybe revamping up, the top line in Central America? Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Alejandro. So we're very pleased with Byte results, and we expect that to continue in the near future. Basically, because our offering to the customer is a winning offering in terms of pricing, quality service, and proposal for the customers. Byte is a key part of our ecosystem because most of business units we are creating or the services that we are creating in our ecosystem start with a digital connection. You will need access to those services, digital access. And in the past, in Mexico, access to internet was very expensive. So that's why we jump into creating Byte and lowering the cost to customers to access to internet through their mobile phones. So for us, it's a key part of how we build the ecosystem going forward. With the results that we have and what we are seeing for the future, we want to keep gaining market share, becoming an even larger operator and being a top player in the industry. And once we reach a bigger base of customers, we can unlock an opportunity to start monetizing more of those customers through a whole ecosystem, through different offerings or services to them. So we're very positive of what we're building and the pace it's growing and how we see it unfold in the future, not only for the business in Byte itself, but how it contributes to the whole ecosystem. And the other important part here is the advertising around Byte. So it helps us fuel our Walmart Connect offering in a suite of solutions to the advertisers that we believe it's unique in the market. So again, it's a big part of what we are creating, and we are very happy how it's unfolding.
And just on Central America, so good question around our growth have to say that if you look at Central America performance and you look, I think on 4 of those countries, we are happy what they're doing and how we actually competing in the market. To say, as we alluded in our transcript in the webcast, somewhat softer performance in Costa Rica, and partially also driven by the deflation that we've been talking about, and potentially we probably need to gain even more volume in that context. And that's how you look to the H2. That's actually what we're doing. We put a set of actions and a plan in place so that how we can capture more volume, in particular in Costa Rica and in discount format. We are confident about the plans that we're putting in place, and we should see increased growth going forward. And I think we'll also be partly helped by there will be also a bit, at least an expectation of some small price inflation in the country that will also tend to help, of course, the comp sales and overall growth. I think you look forward even further. We have been open that we actually want to bring more growth to the Central America, invest further in that business, and being even more aggressive in the way we have been opening or will be opening stores in some of these markets, and therefore that will translate in the future as well to additional comp sales.
Thank you, Paulo. Ignacio, very clear.
Thank you very much for your question. Our next question is from Mr. Bob Ford from Bank of America. Please go ahead.
Hey, good morning, everybody, and thank you for taking my questions. And congratulations on the same-store improvements and the improvements in price perception. How big of a hit do you estimate the pull forward of transfer payments had on your same-store sales in the second quarter? And can you discuss some of your inventory exit strategies coming out of the hot sale? And then lastly, Pablo, you mentioned the one-offs in the second quarter. How are you thinking about funding labor pressures moving forward? Thank you.
Sorry, can you repeat Bob, the first question?
So the first question was with respect to the impact of the early payments of transfer payments in February versus the second quarter and how it may have impacted your same-store sales.
Okay.
Yeah. So Bob, thank you for the question. What you see with the social programs is that, based on the government elections, as you know, they couldn't advertise, based on the government party that they own, that you couldn't do the social programs in Q2 based on laws and regulations. So they pushed all of that into quarter one. And that had mainly, to your question on hot sale, I think 2 effects. The first is that there was less disposable income for durable goods. And we saw some categories that were impacted in the hot sale that compared to the last year, we didn't have that impact. Some of the categories that we saw, not as good performance were TVs, toys, and some video games. And then the second thing that happened within hot sale is that the PTU, which is the profit sharing from the companies, it gets paid in May. And by law and regulation, you have the ability to pay to a certain point to the end of May. And the event, probably not a good calendar effect, was planned in the middle of May. And that, limited the ability for customers to have more disposable income based on the PTU that was available in the market. Versus in the prior years, you had it in June, so you had the full effect of the PTU and you had the full effect as well as the social programs. So those were the main impacts from a macro perspective, and then some categories as well that we don't play strong in, like beauty and fashion, were also good performers. And as you know, in extended assortment, we're still not there, and we're continuing to build from that standpoint.
Yeah, let me build on that. Elections change a little bit the calendar for certain promotions like hot sale and social, social benefits. So that's why I think the right way to look at this second quarter is H1, considering Q1 and Q2 all together. It will give a better understanding of how the quarter and how the first half of the year happened. Because we have a lot of changes with calendar effects, elections, and so on.
Bob, let me address the question on inventory. So you've asked about inventory post hot sale season. Let me even zoom out a bit further, Bob, I think on inventory management as a whole is something that we in a company are conscious that we need to do better, and we can do better. I think there are opportunity to reduce our days on hand, something that we are putting in place a task force to address that, because of course we liberate quite some cash, and of course with the improvements that it has in all our metrics. I think it's an important one. I think if we refer just to the short term and how we address the inventory post hot sale season, is part of the day-to-day business that we have to do when we have these types of seasons. I think the first things that we have to do, if we have some inventory that was left over as a result of the hot sale, we need to liquidate that. It's best to actually have it the right assortment in the moment that actually the customer wants to buy it, and we have to balance that within the margins that we have to manage on an ongoing basis. So that's what typically we do, Bob. But that's no different than what we do in the past.
Yeah, every year.
Was there an additional question, Bob, that I think we are forgetting? There was another one.
Was on labor Pablo. It was really, you had one-offs in the first quarter or second quarter that you referred to. And I'm just wondering how you're thinking about funding those higher labor costs as we move forward.
Yes, as I said, I think I don't recall who was asking that question anymore, but we should see as we've been saying since the beginning of the year, so to speak, really a temporary reshape of the P&L between the gross margin and the SG&A. Whilst we are able to drive the efficiency and the automation that will help us to fully offset the investments that we have in the SG&A, particularly in the labor costs, with the last 4 years and particularly this year have been quite acute with a 20% growth year on year. And you know that labor cost is a significant part of our business in terms of expense line. So I'm confident that we're doing the things that we are building pipeline for the future that will be able us then to leverage the cost. Meanwhile, of course, we'll always have to be smart in the way we do those investments, the way we run the business with the cost, how much investments we put to accelerate growth. And of course, driving efficiency margin and actually the benefits that we're bringing from the ecosystem that others don't have in order to balance that in the overall margins that we deliver to all our shareholders and will be delivered more recently that you have seen. I think that's what we have to do. And but we do that, and I reiterate this for the third time in this Q&A, we do that without putting our competitiveness at jeopardy, because that's our mantra and that's unique differentiation versus our competitors out there in the market.
That makes perfect sense. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, Bob.
Thank you very much for your question. That was the last question. I will now hand over to Mr. Salvador Villaseñor for final comments.
Well, thank you very much, everybody, for joining us in this event, and we'll hope to see you again in next quarter results.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.